Hey guys, welcome back. Going to meet up with my friends today. We're going to be flying onto some local gravel bars and sandbars. It's going to be a little bit more pilot focused and technical, as I'll be walking you through some of the takeoffs and landings. A little bit different than my last video. I do want to say a big thank you to everybody who watched the solo mountain and beach camping video. I really appreciated reading the comments, the suggestions, the words of encouragement, all motivation for me to do more. So thanks for that, and there will be more of those types of videos soon. As usual, the day starts with gassing up. I'm filling the left tank with 18 gallons of fuel, and my right tank has about 6 gallons in it, so that's kind of my reserve. And yeah, so just running off the left tank, I should have about almost 3 hours of fuel, 2 and a bit, which should be plenty for my trip today. I usually plan about 6 to 7 gallons per hour. I do recommend always straining your fuel tanks, pretty much no matter what. I do it regardless, even if it's hangered. Best be safe. Now, something else I like to suggest is to check your carburetor heat before you take off. Pull it out for a few seconds, make sure you get a drop in RPM, and then push it back in and take off. Oftentimes we check the carb heat during the run-up, but lots of time goes by between the run-up and the takeoff. And in that time, carburetor ice can be accumulated. Coming up is Crescent Island. There's usually a sandbar on the east end of it. I was hoping to land there on the way to Harrison, but the water was a bit high today. Next bar on the list is just south of Hatzick Lake. It's not always there, depends on the tide and the time of year, but usually halfway through the summer it starts making an appearance. It's just one lonely bar in the middle of the Fraser River. The day started out with calm winds, but as I went eastbound they increased probably to a good 15 knots from the east. So I'm just coming in without a precautionary approach here. I've landed this one quite a bit. So straight in approach with a little extra speed to start with. All I wanted to do was land and put my tripod down and my camera. Alright, camera is set up. So I'm just gonna do a short takeoff here, as short as I can make it. I'm gonna start with flaps 1 and then pop it to flaps 2. Now you're probably wondering when I rotate. I usually rotate when I feel like the aircraft is ready to fly, but usually in airspeed that would be about 35-ish miles per hour. Now I'd say that was about 100-foot takeoff. What do you think? Coming back around here, I'm usually going full flaps on the base leg, turn to final, and that's when I start stabilizing my airspeed. Usually at that point, I'm about 40 miles per hour and decelerating slowly to about 35. I'd say I'm not usually looking at the speed. I kind of go by angle of attack and feeling, because I'm busy looking outside and making sure I'm on the right path and not going to run over an obstacle or rock, something that could damage the aircraft and leave me stranded. So with time you get used to just doing it by feeling, which is why a lot of practice is absolutely worth your time if you want to start landing in challenging areas. Now in this case, I am rotating a little bit later, probably around 40 miles per hour, because I want to have a little bit of extra airspeed, just because I'm taking off right over the water and I don't want the aircraft to kind of be mushy and close to stall. I want it to be actually flying before pulling back. Bit of a safety margin. Next spot is the Nickelman Slough. It's got a whole bunch of sandbars, and my buddy Jeff is waiting for me over there, so we're gonna go join him. I've known Jeff for about 8 or 9 years now. Jeff and I are both from the province of Quebec in Canada, and Jeff bought his airplane about, 10 years ago in his early 20s. A couple of years later, he put it on skis, and he was looking for somebody to give him his ski checkout. And that's how we met. I did his ski checkout in Quebec, and we've been friends ever since. Jeff is a very experienced Cub pilot. A couple of years ago, he decided to fly his Piper J3 Cub from the Montreal, Quebec area all the way to Vancouver, BC to come explore the backcountry with us. Alright, so I was just dragging the sandbar because I've never landed at this one. So I was picking my touchdown point and my line. So here I am on a right downwind right base to come and land the bar. Jeff got a outside clip of the landing as well. Please excuse the potato quality. Always watch that tail when you swing it around. It goes out further than you think. Jeff will pretty much fly this everywhere we go, with exceptions to a few spots. But it's pretty impressive what you can do with a sub 800 pound airplane on 29-inch tires. It's got a 85 horsepower Continental stroker engine, no electrics, super basic. I think it weighs 780 pounds if I remember correctly, and it's definitely impressive in the right hands. Hard to believe that Cubs were designed in the late 1930s. Jeff's is a 1946 and mine is a 1954. People have tried to copy this design or make it better, but Piper just had the best recipe. Some of you may be wondering why he's sitting in the back seat of his airplane. Well, that's due to the fact that the Piper J3 Cub came with a front tank, a tank that's mounted just behind the firewall. The Super Cubs came later on and they moved the tanks to the wings and removed the front tank. so the center of gravity was more aft already, so you can sit in the front seat. Whereas Jeff has to compensate for the fact that he's got weight up front, so he's got to sit further back. Now joining up with our friend Guy. Guy and I have known each other for maybe 4 years now, and we met thanks to Instagram. We're both from Quebec, both professional pilots, and yeah, we met up for tacos at the Sunny Chibas in Squamish. Talked about airplanes and all sorts of stuff, life. Guy was living in his car at the time. Talk about priorities, hey? Owns a Super Cub, lives in his car. So yeah, we've been good friends ever since. Guy and I's airplanes are very similar. They're both Piper Super Cubs with 160 horsepower engines and fine pitch props, both on 35-inch tires. Guy has a few extra goodies like his Alaska Gear Company landing gear shocks. Here's Guy coming in to land on one of the many bars there are to choose from. All three of us then landed at the Sandpiper Golfing Resort, where you can land your plane and walk in for a meal.
C'est artistique là. Nice. Wow, 6
Depuis l'accident. The guys and I are going right back to the gravel bars for a little bit more practice. Now there was this off-camber narrow gravel bar that I really wanted to land on. It was cambered towards the left, so I was touching down on my right main tire. So I could have slowed down here with the ailerons pointing towards the right and touched my left gear. But then after that, I would have to turn around on that narrow bar going uphill. So that would be a lot of power pulling my way up the hill to turn around to do a 180, and thus probably sucking up some rocks into the propeller and damaging it. So I opted out of that one. After a warm-up on the bigger bar to the left, I landed this bar, which was just a little island in the middle, probably about 300 feet long. I used maybe half of it. I'll probably use the term dragging pretty often. That just means you're doing either a precautionary approach, touching your wheels down but not committing to a landing, testing the surface out. So I was dragging this little short bar that I just flew over a few times, estimated it to be about maybe 125 feet or so, maybe 150. But after dragging it a few times, I came in for a full stop landing. Now you may be wondering how I come up with the landing distance available. Well, you gotta do a little bit of math. So 1 mile has 5,280 feet and 1 hour has 3,600 seconds. So if you divide the two together, you will get 1.46. So in 1 mile per hour, you travel 1.46 feet per second. So if I fly over the landing surface at, let's say, 40 miles per hour, you do 40 times 1.46, and that'll give you 59, call it 60. And then you just count the seconds over the landing area, and you come up with your number. Just long enough for a Super Cub in those conditions on that day. Touchdown was about 38 miles per hour on the airspeed indicator. I don't think that's accurate because of the angle of attack. It might have been a bit slower. You can see Jeff just landing on the left, and then me to the right on the island. Just about to take off. Here's the inside view of the takeoff. So I'm swinging my tail over the water to have the most available runway ahead of me. I'm gonna roll down the whole strip, or the whole bar, before I pull off, just to gain as much airspeed as I can and not pull prematurely and have the aircraft resettle down on the ground in a stall, which could potentially put me in the water. And here's Guy landing on the same gravel bar. Now, practicing spot landings is key to making this kind of landing work out. So go out and practice is my best advice. Try to land on the same spot every time. You can see that Guy touched down just before me, and thus making his landing rollout slightly shorter. I'll just say it's because of those nice shocks he has. You might notice we're not doing any water-assisted landings today. The winds are gusty, so it's a little bit unpredictable. You can be above penetrating speed while on the water, and then suddenly the wind drops and then you're going in. So best not to do that on this kind of day unless you're going pretty fast. Here I'm just checking out a different bar, but then I noticed that there were fishermen up the river, so I didn't want to bother them. So I went around. Time to make it a full stop and hang out for a bit before heading home.
Non, je veux que je le fasse, mais je peux pas. Un peu, oui. T'as besoin de gaz, arrête quelque part, puis on va venir t'en donner, on va te trouver. Oui, je vais envoyer bon là.
On va zoomer comme ça. On our way home, we stopped in at Bruce's farm to say hello. And if by any chance you do find this place, don't land, it's private property. That is a wrap for today's flying. If you like the video, you know what to do. And yeah, I should have some exterior shots in the next video. I'm getting an action camera I can mount to my wing. So yeah, be a bit of a different perspective for the next one, hopefully. If you have any flying technique questions or anything related to this video or unrelated, I'll do my best to answer them in the comments as usual. Take care, guys.